There's breaking news tonight for you. Police say a vehicle struck pedestrians on a road in North London, leaving several casualties, and one person has been arrested. The Muslim Council of Britain said on Twitter that a van that struck worshippers as they were leaving the Finsbury Park Mosque. Britain Sky News reports that witnesses tell them at least 10 people were hit by the van outside the mosque. Police confirmed several people were injured when a vehicle rammed into pedestrians. Metropolitan Police said officers were called to the scene on Seven Sisters Road at 12:20 a.m. local time on Monday. The London Ambulance Service said it responded to the incident with a number of ambulance crews, including advanced paramedics and special response teams. Now that is breaking news, so we will have more information for you as soon as it becomes available to us. Protesters took to the streets for a third day in a row in the Twin Cities. They're upset over the acquittal of Officer Geronimo Yanez and the death of Philando Castile. And as John Croman reports, demonstrators say this is only the beginning.
Because my friend did not deserve to die here in this state.
They gathered in front of St. Anthony Village City Hall, where Officer Geronimo Yanez worked at the time he fatally shot Philando Castile. Among them, some first-time protesters, including Abdi Iman of Eden Prairie, who arrived wearing angel's wings.
For me, it really matters when a life is taken that we consider how it was taken.
From City Hall, the protesters marched north, at times briefly occupying intersections, vowing to bring more meaning to the death of Castile. The only tense moments came when they forced some pickup trucks to back up rather than driving through the intersection.
Philando was gone, but it's about humanity. It's about everybody being able to coexist with one another.
Philando Castile's sister, Alazea, said she expects more rallies and marches as the July 6th anniversary of her brother's death approaches, and she predicts the movement will intensify once the dash cam video shown in court is released to the public. That dash cam video doesn't show us what Officer Yanez could see, but it does show us how quickly things happened, how quickly Philando Castile died after he volunteered that he had a firearm. From St. Anthony Village, I'm John Croman.
Community meetings have been held in the Twin Cities to encourage conversations about race and efforts to create unity, hoping to keep the violence down. It seems like telemarketers are getting more and more sophisticated every day, and our reporter Molly Casey is here. And Molly, what's the new way telemarketers are trying to reach people?
Well, it's called ringless voicemail, and what it does is it leaves a voicemail in your box without your phone ever ringing. It happens an estimated 2.4 billion times a month, consumers receiving unwanted robo and telemarketing calls.
You're a finalist in our luxury prize drawing.
And a new proposal to the Federal Communications Commission could give those same callers another way to contact you.
Some telemarketers and political groups are looking to push through a rule change which would allow voicemails to be sent directly to a consumer's voicemail without even the phone ringing.
Dan Hendrickson from the Better Business Bureau says the proposal isn't covered by the Telephone Consumer Protection Act of 1991.
If the whole point of robocalls being a problem is that they're bothering people, these ringless voicemails won't bother anyone.
The new proposal argues that since voicemails go directly from a company to a voicemail system, not the phone, they can't be considered calls.
You look down at your phone, you didn't hear the phone ring, suddenly you got a voicemail.
You can add your phone number to the national Do Not Call list, but this new system may skirt that. So what can you do?
The Federal Communications Commission is debating this rule right now and are actively looking for feedback from the public.
And so just right there, you basically said there's nothing we can do, but are there any other options out there that we can try to do?
Well, right now there are some apps that say that they will block these ringless voicemails from coming into your voicemail box, but there's no actual guarantee that will happen. Like I said, you can put your name and your phone number on the Do Not Call list, but other than that, when you get a new voicemail, just look at that transcript if you can and see what it is.
Delete,
exactly,
right.
exactly.
Thanks so much, Molly. Michael Dahl, the Omega, Minnesota man facing 3 felony charges related to the mistreatment of animals, will make his initial court appearance tomorrow. Court documents allege Dahl is the man responsible for this downright gruesome sight that upset a lot of people over in Becker County. Now, we first reported on the story in March. 3 dead horses were found on land that Michael Dahl was renting in late January. Court documents say 2 of the horses belonged to him and the third to a woman who had been hired for him to care for the animal while she was out of the country. Documents also state that the horses likely died of starvation and exposure to extremely cold weather. Ethan Stensgaard, the Enderlin man responsible for the death of a 16-year-old boy from Ada, will be sentenced tomorrow. Stensgaard's most serious conviction is third-degree criminal vehicular homicide. He had also been drinking that night and, according to court documents, did not stop at a stop sign, which led to the death of Carter Peterson. Peterson was a smart, busy student, according to his obituary, a great athlete, a musician, and someone everyone liked. Stensgaard is facing up to 10 years in prison. A plan for a local activity center shot down by voters in Devils Lake in 2014 is getting a rework, according to the Devils Lake Journal. The new plan for the activity center is a little slimmed down than the last, a two-story building with 2 gymnasiums, and it would include a host of other things like locker rooms, storage areas, and a kitchen, to name a few. The total price, $25 million. The Park District plans to fund about $3 million of that project, and a proposed half-cent sales tax would fund the remaining $22 million. The West Nile virus has been found in Minnesota. Experts say this is the earliest it's been found in the land of 10,000 lakes in almost a decade. Vector ecologists say the virus does very well in warm weather, and our spring did have some unusually warm days. The best way to avoid the virus is to decrease your chances of getting bit by doing the following things you see on your screen. The 2018 midterm election is on a lot of people's minds, Republicans trying to maintain their majority and Democrats hoping to flip the House and Senate. Eyes are already on 2 North Dakota races. Senator Heidi Heitkamp and Representative Kevin Cramer may not have opponents yet, but they already need to be in mid-season form. And as our reporter Bro Evans shows us, trackers from both parties have been attending public events for both politicians and videotaping any public remarks and interviews.
Senator Heidi Heitkamp is followed everywhere she goes, but she's used to it.
It's one of those things that is now part of politics. You know, it's fortunate because I never say anything anywhere that I wouldn't want put on the front page of the papers.
Democratic and Republican operatives have been trailing Heitkamp and Representative Kevin Cramer, looking for anything they can use against the politicians in future campaigns.
Trackers have followed me around here. They shout questions at me as I'm going into restaurants.
I think they're mainly just looking for something that would fit in a 2-second soundbite.
Cramer says he started to think of his tracker like family.
I had a tracker that followed me around in 2012 when I first started, but he became like a son to Chris and me. We invited him into our fundraisers. We said, you can't turn the camera on in the fundraisers, but you can enjoy the meal.
Both members of the state's congressional delegation say as long as everyone has good manners, they don't mind the extra company.
As long as people are respectful, it doesn't bother me.
Oftentimes, the organizers will say, should we kick that person out? And I always say, as long as they're polite, let them stay. I've got nothing to hide.
But Cramer says his one issue with trackers is they can keep politicians from being themselves.
And that means running some risk. That means occasionally stumbling. That means maybe stating the wrong fact every now and then. It might even mean saying something stupid.
Being themselves is a quality the 2 representatives from North Dakota don't seem to have any issues with.
Senator Heitkamp seems to be gearing up for quite the battle. Through the first 3 months of 2017, she has raised more than $1.6 million for her 2018 campaign. And get this, there's rumbling that Cramer may decide to run against her, but that tidbit has not been confirmed by the Cramer camp. It's Dad's big day, so dozens of businesses around the Fargo-Moorhead area offered up some Dad sweet deals. One that almost made the kids happy, it did make the kids happy, was a trip to the zoo. Today at Red River Zoo, dads guided and free of charge as they walk side by side with their little tykes. The zoo's been welcoming dads on Father's Day for years, and it seems they get a kick out of it too.
We see all sorts of dads, grandfathers, stepdads, uncles, all coming out, spending time with their little ones. It's really charming. It's really fun to watch them walk through the zoo, look at the animals, and just have a good time together.
Zookeepers also talk to visitors about the animals around the zoo that can also call themselves dads.